In this video, I'll discuss 12 criteria when evaluating a painting, including the value pattern, design, and the lighting. And it's all in my book, Ellen's Guide to Design Elements, which is $5. And if you like my videos, please remember to subscribe. To give you some pointers about values, I took my sea lion picture and divided it into values using Photoshop scale. And if you don't see this value pattern, then try squinting when you look at this picture. So the lightest area is here. You can see it involves his head and part of his body. And I outlined it in red here. And it happens to be about 15 to 20% black. Now the middle value is in green, and it's about 45 to 50% black. And the darkest areas in olive green are 80 to 90% black. Don't place light areas near the edges of the picture because they attract attention. And we want the viewer to stay away from the edges so he doesn't leave the painting. And in this picture, the lightest areas in red are in the middle, not on the edge of the painting. In contrast to the light values, having dark values along the edges of the picture may actually benefit it because it acts like a frame. And my darkest darks are on the edges and also in the middle of the picture. But avoid having a dark uniform value completely surrounding the picture, even if it represents a window frame with the scene beyond. Provide a little variety in the darkness of the frame while still making it look like one structure. And in the same vein, avoid having the darkest darks and lightest lights on the outline of the form, because the less a form is outlined, the more it appears three-dimensional and integrated with the adjacent areas. And although my darkest darks are found to some extent along the edges of this animal, it's broken up. I wanted the sea lion, who seems so peaceful, to contrast with these sharp rocks. In this picture, the green area covers a large amount of the picture. The red area covers a small amount of the picture. So for the olive green area, we want it not to be halfway in between. And the size of this olive green area is closer to the size of the red area than the green area. So it isn't halfway in between. And also, the value of the middle value shouldn't be halfway between the other two values. So the lightest value here is about 18% black. This dark area is about 85% black. And the middle value averages about 47% black. So it's closer to the light area, making it a light middle gray. In my last video, I talked about passages that connect similar values and colors in two adjacent areas. And I've marked these passages with asterisks. So we can see that there's a passage here between the back of the animal and the rocks. And there's a larger passage here between his neck and the rocks, and then another passage here between his snout and the rocks. And you want these passages to be distributed around the picture. Gradations from light to dark or dark to light are comforting and lively. And we see them here in the rocks, a gradation in this direction, and also in the animal, where we see a gradation of values and colors. The more you make light shapes connect together and dark shapes connect together, the less spotty the picture. So here I have light shapes that connect together, and these dark shapes nearly connect together, but they don't connect with the one up here. Now let's talk about composition and design. Why is the face the focus? Well, it's the most interesting part, and we tend to look at animals rather than rocks, and we tend to look at the face rather than the body. So the face is a natural focus. In addition, it has the most detail, and the right side of the face here has a sharp value contrast with this dark crack, while this part of the face has a complementary color contrast between this orange, dark orange snout and the blue-gray rock below. So there are a few reasons why this face stands out. And you can consider the body as the eye path to the focus. Let's look at some design elements. So there should be one dominant direction. The format here is horizontal, which has a powerful effect on the overall direction. So having the animal horizontal agrees with the format, and the diagonals then are the contrasting directions. The dominant shape and texture are on the animal, and I contrast his smooth horizontal shape with the sharp, rough rocks. The dominant color is gray, and the only color contrast is the brownish animal against the bluish rock, so it emphasizes his snout. The color saturation is generally dull and quiet, in keeping with the sleeping animal. There are several elements that make this a unified painting. First of all, it has a focus, and that makes the rest of the picture relate to the focus. We talked about this body as being the eye path. This crack could block the eye path from leaving the picture, and these diagonals seem to stay near the face. It is also unified by value shapes that link animals and rocks together. So if we look at this area, it's a combination of dark rocks and his dark body. And the green is a combination of the animal and the rocks. Now, the animal's body unifies the foreground with the background because it literally connects the two of them. As for the texture of the rocks, I used frottage, where I rubbed a colored pencil over the paper, which was on a rock, so I could transfer the rock texture to the paper. And I think this part turned out fairly realistic. Now, sunlight is coming down from almost overhead, hitting the face and the upper body. And we know that because his snout casts a shadow almost vertically below. There's also a cast shadow here from the overhead rocks. And notice that these shadow edges here and down here are sharper than the terminator, which divides light from dark on this round form. I want to talk about movement versus weight. So this image appears static without any movement because it's a sleeping animal in rocks. I mean, how can you make that jump around with movement? So instead, I went with a weighty animal, and his snout looks like it's almost block-like and casts a sharp edge shadow on the rock. And he has a prominent skin fold here that indicates the pressure his head is making with the rocks. It actually shows the effect of gravity, this skin fold. And notice that it ends at the edge of this blue rock, suggesting that there's a chasm next to that, right in here. So the animal's head is similar to one side of a bridge where it's anchored on this side, but we don't know where the other side of the bridge is, although we can guess by the angle of his belly. So I specifically made this area somewhat vague so the viewer could consider the possibilities. And I'm sure you're going to be up at night trying to figure it out. So remember my book on Amazon, and please remember to subscribe.